We are taught to be strong, to be providers, to be unwavering pillars of strength. But what happens when the weight of the world becomes too heavy to bear? Black men in America carry a unique burden. We face not only the everyday challenges of life, but also the insidious effects of systemic racism and historical trauma. This burden takes a toll on our mental well-being, leaving many of us feeling isolated, unheard, and unseen. For too long, mental health has been shrouded in silence, particularly in the Black community. We are taught to suppress our emotions, to man up and push through the pain. But silence is not strength. It is a slow poison that erodes our well-being from within. It's time to break the silence. It's time to acknowledge the invisible scars that run deep. It's time to create a space where Black men can openly and honestly address their mental health without fear of judgment or shame. Our lives depend on it.
The mental health challenges faced by Black men in America are deeply rooted in our country's history. Centuries of slavery, segregation, and discrimination have created a system where Black men are disproportionately affected by poverty, mass incarceration, and violence. This systemic oppression weighs heavily on our minds and spirits, contributing to higher rates of stress, anxiety, and PTSD. Generations of trauma are passed down, creating a cycle of pain and suffering that can be difficult to break. We see the effects of this trauma in our communities every day. The high rates of violence, substance abuse, and incarceration are not merely individual failings, but symptoms of a deeper societal illness. We cannot ignore the impact of history on our present reality. To understand the mental health crisis facing Black men, we must first acknowledge the historical forces that have shaped our lives and continue to impact our well-being.
In the Black community, mental health is often seen as a taboo subject. We are taught to be strong and resilient, to keep our problems to ourselves. This cultural stigma prevents many Black men from seeking the help they need. We fear judgment from our families and communities. We worry about being perceived as weak or unstable. The stereotypes surrounding mental illness are particularly harmful to Black men. We are often portrayed as aggressive, dangerous, and emotionally volatile. These stereotypes make it even harder for us to open up about our struggles and seek help without fear of being labeled or misunderstood. We must challenge these harmful stereotypes and create a culture where Black men feel safe and supported in seeking help. Mental illness is not a sign of weakness. It is a human experience that affects people of all races, genders, and backgrounds.
Behind the statistics and the headlines are real people with real stories. Stories of fathers battling depression, sons struggling with anxiety, and brothers grappling with the invisible wounds of trauma. These stories often go untold, hidden behind masks of strength and stoicism. There's the young man who excels in school and sports but feels paralyzed by anxiety. He suffers in silence, afraid to disappoint his family or tarnish his image. There's the hardworking father who provides for his family but battles crippling depression behind closed doors. He fears judgment and worries about the stigma of seeking help. These stories are not isolated incidents. They are a reflection of the collective pain and trauma that many Black men carry. By sharing our stories, we chip away at the stigma and create space for healing and understanding.
The consequences of ignoring mental health are severe. Untreated mental health conditions can lead to a range of problems, including substance abuse, relationship issues, and even suicide. Black men have one of the highest suicide rates of any demographic in the United States. This is a crisis that we cannot afford to ignore. When we suppress our emotions and refuse to seek help, we not only harm ourselves but also those around us. Our pain ripples outward, affecting our families, communities, and future generations. The cycle of silence perpetuates the cycle of suffering. We must break free from this destructive pattern. Acknowledging mental health is not a sign of weakness. It is an act of courage and self-love.